Welcome back to Muslim Women in Politics, the series where we highlight the powerful voices and inspiring journeys of Muslim women stepping into public service and shaping the future of our communities. This program is brought to you by the Arab American Center for Culture and Arts, and with you is Wissam Sharafuddin. And I have the honor to have with me also hosting this program His Excellency Mr. Ambassador Dr. Ali Ajami. And in our first episode, we introduced Farah Khan, making history in Farmington Hills. Today, in episode 2, we are honored to host another trailblazer, Micho Assi. Micho Assi is a dedicated community advocate and leader whose work has always been rooted in service. She has been actively involved in building bridges across communities, amplifying underrepresented voices, and championing initiatives that focus on equity, education, and opportunity. As a proud Muslim woman, Micho sees her role in politics not just as a pursuit of office, but as a responsibility to ensure that every resident has access, representation, and government that listens. Her journey reflects both resilience and vision, making her an inspiration for young women, immigrants, and all those who believe that public service should be inclusive and community centered. When we talk about Muslim women in politics, we are not only talking about breaking barriers in America today, we are tapping into a much deeper history. Muslim women have been leaders, advisors, and visionaries for centuries, though their stories have often been overlooked. In early Islamic history, women like Khadija, Sayyida Fatima, Aisha bint Abu Bakr played vital roles in scholarship, diplomacy, and shaping the political discourse of their time. Khadija, the wife of Prophet Muhammad, was not only a business leader but also a source of political and moral counsel in earliest days of Islam. These examples remind us that leadership by women is not departure from tradition, it is part of our Muslim tradition. Islam was built with Khadija as an early partner in the building of Islam. Fast forward to the modern era, and we see Muslim women stepping into political leadership in the world stage. Benazir Bhutto of Pakistan became the first woman to lead a Muslim majority country in 1988, breaking through both cultural and political ceilings. In Bangladesh, the Sheikha Hasina has led her country for decades, shaping policy and economic development. Across Africa and Middle East, figures like Amina Ghuraib Faqim in Mauritius and Najla Bouden in Tunisia show that Muslim women are increasingly visible in top political roles. Here in the United States, the story is still being written. Leaders like Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib made history as first Muslim women elected to Congress, bringing with them not only representation but also advocacy for marginalized communities. At the local level, more and more Muslim women are running for school boards, city councils, and mayoral seats, proving that representation begins at home in our neighborhoods and in our cities. This is why programs like Muslim Women in Politics matter. We are not only celebrating individuals like Micho Assi and Farah Khan and others who you will see in this program, we are continuing a legacy of courage, vision, and the belief that democracy is strongest when it reflects every voice. Muslim women in politics are not exceptions, they are the future of inclusive leadership. Micho Assi played a role in women's voice in Dearborn getting into politics, being heard, and now she's playing even a more major role through MAPS, which she will talk about it momentarily. Micho Assi, welcome to your program, and let's start with your take on Muslim women in politics, your story, and your vision through MAPS.
Sure. Thank you so much, Mr. Wissam and Dr. Ajami. I'm so happy to be part of this program. First, I would like to start with the idea of public service before diving into the woman in public service. And the idea of why Muslims in public service. For me personally, because we always say never forget where you came from and go back to your roots, and always how our upbringing or where we come from definitely plays a major role on who we become. So public service for me feels like it's in my DNA. Like I come from a family in South Lebanon where my dad served in the army and became army general in the South for since I was born. In addition, my uncle worked in the legislature for a long time. And that's from my father's side. For my mother's side, my grandma, Allah yarhamha, she was the first woman in her village, to become a religious scholar and public speaker. So she would travel. I remember she would travel between Syria, Iraq, and Iran, teaching and leading with her small notebook, writing stories and speeches about Islam and educating the women in the village. So she's the first human in general and women specifically who taught me how to always have a voice on the podium in the mosque and to have a voice even when that voice shakes. She's someone who I truly witnessed this idea, like speak the truth and speak your opinion even when your voice shakes. So that's back to that upbringing and why public service means personally to me. As Muslim, the way how I see practicing Islam for me, aside from the ibadat, how people choose to practice their ibadat part, for me, Islam means public service. Purely, it's how much you can influence the society you live in, whether it's a Muslim society or non-Muslim society, whether it's an Arab or Muslim geographical point or abroad, non-Muslim or atheist land. And I feel like the way of being a Muslim is how much you can contribute to the land where you live, the land where you study in, where you work in, the land where you feed your kids from. So I feel this is a duty, the public service. That's how I practice my religion. So that's a little bit about the why, the public service in general on a personal level and on a value level as a Muslim. That's how I see being a Muslim is by my public service idea.
Thank you, Micho. Before we go to Dr. Ali, there is a little feedback in the mic. I'm not sure if...
Are you able to hear?
I can hear, but there's a little feedback. Is there a hard surface under the laptop? Is it a laptop?
Yes, it is a laptop.
Is there a hard surface like glass or wood?
Let me change. Hold on. Can you hear now better?
Do you have a mic attached?
It's already attached to the laptop.
The mic?
But the air conditioner started working. That's probably why you hear some.
Maybe that's it. Or you can remove the mic. Sometimes the laptop mic is...
It's already built in.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm not sure where this is coming from, but there's a little bit of feedback. We'll try to work on it here post-production. Further, Dr. Ali.
No.
Fadal, you were muted.
Yeah. I was saying that, Micho, welcome to our show. I'm so happy that you are with us. And I hope that your dad is online now with us to hear our conversation. He's a good friend. And we are proud of you and we are proud of him. Before I start my question, I wanted to, because Wissam asked you to talk about maps. You did not. Can we hear something about?
Sure. So MAP stands for Muslim Americans. Sorry, first I want to check. Can you hear me well?
There is still feedback when you talk, and that sometimes is caused by the vibration of the thing that you're talking. So if you put a book or something that is more observing,
Okay.
sometimes becomes better.
Is that better? I hope.
It is better. Let me see here. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Don't worry about it. We can reduce the mic background.
Sure. So MAPS is an organization network. Their headquarters is in Washington, D.C. It stands for Muslim Americans in Public Service. And we just established the Michigan chapter about a year ago, but we're still we just put together our team so we can expand and start really doing the work. The mission of MAP is truly to support the career, the workplace, and community development of Muslim American public servant and serve as a catalyst. And we'll talk about the idea of the catalyst later. Catalyst, resource, and force multiplier for the associations that represent and support Muslims, whether on city level, state level, federal level, and truly MAPS aim to expand the collective contribution of Muslim Americans across public service on all levels and sectors of the government.
Okay, so my first question to you, Micho, is the following. As a Muslim woman with the hijab, have you ever faced any stereotypes, any discrimination, any Islamophobia in your professional and public life? And how did you manage to face or to deal with all these issues?
Good question, Dr. Ajami. Honestly, to say the fact that we live in a country that's very polarized when it comes to accepting different identities, whether Muslim or immigrants or Latino or overall someone who's not white, let's put it this way, it always depends on, unfortunately, but that's a fact, it depends on the person's own political values and the person own political and or social values. What I mean by that, for example, if you work in a space, government space, when it's non-partisan, or you work with a group where people are very welcoming to someone who doesn't look like them or doesn't speak like them or practice like them, in fact, I see a lot of support. For example, I did work with the Democratic caucus in the Michigan legislature. You will be surprised how maybe at that time, one of the two Muslim women walking on the floor of the legislature, you would be surprised how much respect I always earned, how much support. I mean, I shouldn't say you should be surprised, but people wouldn't expect maybe being the only Muslim woman working in the legislature at that time. You will see a lot of support. You will see always people would ask me, for example, do you shake hand? Tell me more about religion. Where do you come from? What country? It's Ramadan right now. Is there a specific thing that I should be aware of? So people sometimes have a lot of curiosity on learning more about your religion or your culture. However, since we mentioned polarity, some people do have some concern, and that concern doesn't necessarily coming from hate. Sometimes people have ignorance. I always try to assume the good intention on people. If people come, for example, from certain, not necessarily certain party, let's say Republican Party, it doesn't necessarily mean because this person is Republican doesn't welcome someone who doesn't look like them. No, sometimes you would face people who comes from a state or a city, they never seen a Muslim. And in Ahna, for example, we live in Dearborn, we live in Michigan. We would think it's the norm to see a Muslim, to see a mosque, to learn about Arabic or Muslim culture. But don't forget, there's a lot of people, for example, in Michigan, who come or live in the UP area. They never encountered a Muslim person, whether a Muslim woman wearing a scarf or a Ali or a Muhammad or a Yusuf in their life. So sometimes people they're just like, they do display certain bias or prejudice. It's only based on ignorance or based on what they see on the media outlet. Even though it's a long answer, but to answer your question, I personally never faced a bias simply because I'm someone who always find a common ground with people, whether talking about soccer or favorite food or fashion or like things that makes a human connection with others. So working in the legislature, for example, I built a lot of connection with people who comes in the who works in the Republican Party, even though I was working with Democrats. So when you're intentional about building those connection and bridges, I believe this breaks the ice with people who already built a prejudice without they even ask you the tough question. It just naturally you make the human connection with people that if they were thinking to have certain negative prejudice, maybe, it smoothen the relation and build the human connection with them.
Thank you, Micho. So through maps, you can hear me clearly?
Yeah, I hope now the sound is better.
It is better. What happened?
The air conditioner.
They put off the air conditioner.
I came to the studio supposedly to be more quiet than my house, but then that's what happened.
Yeah. It's okay. Thank you. Anyway, it's gonna be cold tonight, so no need for air condition for the rest of the night, hopefully. And maps establishing Muslim Americans in public service. Tell us the story. I know that you were involved personally with campaigns and working along other public servants in the area. And you've developed a lot of experience, a lot of connections. One path usually for individuals like you who built such an experience is to consider running for office themselves. And this is an area of need for Arab Americans. Well, you decided to move more towards creating a nonprofit organization. So tell us a little bit about that path that you chose and the story of the birth of this organization, and what are you happy about accomplishing so far in it?
Just to be more clear, this network of maps, that's not like my full-time work. That's something like a voluntarily leadership role that I'm playing, and I got appointed to it, and I was honored to take on this role. But that's one of many hats I wear. And the idea of it is truly to connect Muslim Michiganders who work in public service, whether on a local level, city level, school board, or even a state level, and truly to work with allies and make sure that Muslim American in public service exists on that map. I know on the Michigan map, I know people, a lot of, like when you tell people outside Michigan and you throw the name Dearborn in Michigan, they tell you, oh, there's a lot of Arab, there's a lot of Muslims. But so this network is really to bring everyone in a strong network, but also to not forget about Muslims outside Dearborn, Muslims outside the Wayne County, Muslims in Flint, in Grand Rapids, the Albanian Muslims, or the Black Muslims or Latino Muslims. So the idea really is to make sure we do the outreach beyond our, if I want to call it, a small bubble, even though it's a deep, great network within our community, but we want to make sure we bring everyone together. And this is the idea. And not only bring everyone together as a network, but also to serve as catalysts to open the door for other next generation of Muslim leaders. Because, and the reason why here I want to emphasize the keyword catalyst that falls in the mission of MAPS, and that's something I genuinely, it falls under one of my values when it comes to work, to any level of work or leadership I do, whether small or big, that I'm always intentional about the idea when we are the only Muslim sitting at the table, that means there's something wrong. Because we want to bring more of us. And when we are celebrating, for example, being the first Muslim who got this seat, or the first Muslim mayor, or the first female who works at the legislature, or the first any position in public service, we want to make sure we're not the last, and we want to make sure we understand that we have a duty when we are selected, or when we make it to be the first. We have to make sure we're not the last, and that's how we play a role of catalyst. For example, if you're the first person who works in a county or in a judicial court, you want to make sure you open these opportunities for more Muslims, whether through fellowship or serving as a pipeline for job resources and information about leadership roles. This is how we can multiply our existence in the room and at the tables where decisions are made and decisions are discussed. So while MAP serve as a network, but truly the mission that they have is truly a mission of mine, if I want to say, not a mission of mine, a value of mine. And MAPS is a great network to fulfill this value, to make sure there's more of Rashida Tlaib, not only one Rashida Tlaib, there's more of Ilhan Omar, there's more of our legislators in different states. We don't want to have only one. We don't want to only have one Muslim mayor. We want to have in each state a Muslim mayor, in each county if we can. So that's the idea. We don't want to be a gatekeeper. We want to be a catalyst.
Okay. Micho, you told us in your introduction that your grandmother was a role model to you.
Yes.
She inspired you. Were there any other role models in your life that influenced your decision to take this path of political life or public service? And were there any specific thing that inspired you as a Muslim American woman to go through this path?
I love this question, and my way of answering that is, in Lebanon, that's where my upbringing, unfortunately, because there wasn't much female role model except my grandmother, who I can remember, that actually really triggered my curiosity of the why we can't have more women leaders. So coming to the USA, of course, gave me the opportunity to witness more female leaders who truly truly reached a lot of position that made us so proud of them. And this is when I started doing like the great comparative analysis. Okay, back home, we didn't have much opportunities because of certain system. But then when we see here opportunities of a lot of females from our community, of course, that truly inspired me personally and inspire everyone, whether male or female, to really actually pursue this opportunity, because at the end of the day, when female from our community, or even male from our community, whether our community, the Arab American or Muslim American, when they reach certain position and open doors for others, it uplifts the entire community. It doesn't only uplift them personally. And personally, honestly, when I first went through my divorce process, the first female who I witnessed like playing a great role was my judge. My judge was the first Muslim who sat at the bench, and that was very inspiring for me. And honestly, that made a huge impact in my decision, because in fact in my educational background, I studied biology and forensic science, had nothing to do with politics and legal system or public service. But then I continued further my education in criminal justice and criminology to understand the law, and that was post my divorce. So actually, I can't say her name since there's no conflict of interest right now in the case. We're over. It was Judge Charlene Elder. She was my inspiration, and follow up with many other women leaders from our community, statewide and national-wise as well.
I want to share with you Micho, and then ask you a question. So
Sure.
I'm going to mute you. I think you have. Yeah. So, oh, this is coming from Dr. Ali. Or is it from me?
Oh, do you want me to be muted?
No, 1 second. You know what? I might be the source of all this mess. 1 second.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Is this better? No.
I can hear you. Dr. Ali, you seem muted, but Anna, I can hear Wissam.
Okay.
Dr. Ali, can you test?
Yeah, you still the echo coming from your side, Wissam.
It's from my side?
Yeah.
هلا في echo?
No. Now it's no.
Okay, no, it's from Micho's side.
She's muted.
Well, I just muted her.
Okay.
Okay.
Now it's okay. No echoing. Yeah.
I'll ask the question, then you can unmute yourself, Micho. The share of Muslim office holders today in the nation is about 235 between local, state, and federal. Out of that, about 95 are women. That's 40%, which is higher than the national average. I also mentor student governments in school, and for the longest, it always has been a fact that most of the most of the person that win the presidency of the student government are girls in our schools, and they're predominantly Muslim Americans. Do you feel that when given the opportunity, Muslim women actually excel more than average in achieving and in stepping up for power?
I love the statistic. I'm glad you shared this with me. I love numbers. I didn't know about those facts. And honestly, those numbers speaks about what I just mentioned, the idea of, for example, in Lebanon, when Dr. Ajami asked me if I got inspired by any woman, I told him, like, in Lebanon, I only, for example, remember my grandmother. She was a woman leader. I don't remember anyone else as a female. Versus when I came to the United States, I've seen numerous female Muslim and female Arab women who stepped out for a lot of leadership role. So that I believe it's connected to two good root causes. One, the idea of immigrants overall always feel the need that they have to do double the amount of work to prove themselves in the country where they immigrated to. That's in general, and that's a good thing. The second thing for female, because often they come from countries where not much opportunities are given for them, they also feel like, comparing to male, like gender-wise, okay? So they always feel like countries like this unlock their potential because, like statistically also there's overall Arab women here in the United States, they're way more educated than Arab women in the Middle East. Not because they're not smart over there, but because, the opportunities for education here, there's a lot of facilitation for a lot of like resources for education and higher education. So that's why I believe women step more into leadership roles in general. But when it comes to politics, aside from Muslim or Arab women overall, among many campaigns I've witnessed, I worked or volunteered in directly or indirectly, a lot of even male, when they run for office, they prefer that their campaign manager or campaign lead is a woman because honestly, not to be biased, but even studies show that women in the organizational skills, like biologically, their frontal lobe, which is executive and organizational skills, is really, I don't want to say more or better than men, but it's known biologically to be more improved than other parts in their brain. So given the scientific, scientific way of how the woman brain works, that comes to execution when it comes to doing project management in general and campaign managing specific. So across a lot of campaign, most of the women managing campaigns are women. And yes, women immigrants and women who are usually from communities who don't have their voice heard. Women feels the responsibility to step out and take the lead, again, to represent their community more than to just do a personal fulfillment for them. That's the way how I see it, and that's how I observe it across different states as well, not just like in our Arab community in Dearborn.
So you're saying that they have the zeal to prove themselves more, and also they're better at it.
Yeah, I mean, look, like men are better at other skills because biologically and socially they are better at it. Women are better in managing and executing a lot of managing and organizing because, the idea of organizing and manage starts as a mother, managing and organizing the house and the family, which is in the family, she's like the chief of staff in an organization. She is the chief executive in the house, managing financial to small conflict resolution among kids. And she has to be sometimes and many times a team player among the kids, the dad, a lot of different things, So that's how I see it. If I want to do like the comparative analysis, naturally, woman is good in doing the organizational skills. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Micho, maybe 10 or 20 years ago, there were no Muslim as a mayor or as a senator. Now we have Ilhan Omar, we have Rashida Tlaib, we have Abdullah Hammoud, we have Amir Ghalib, maybe others. But do you feel now that the Muslim Americans, and especially women, are adequately represented in local, state, or federal government in the United States?
This take us to overall try to observe or compare in general and talk about the state of Muslim American in public service today. If I want to evaluate it before, for example, I've been in this country since like 23 years. And I know there's been a lot of progress comparing to, for example, people who built the foundation of Muslim Americans and Arab American in public service who came way before me and before many. So the state of Muslim American in public service today, I would say it's very both inspiring and challenging. Yes, we've made tremendous progress from Muslim service on school board and city council to state legislators across the country, especially in Michigan and even in Congress. But if I want to think about Muslims in Congress, we don't have many. Yes, we've done a lot of progress, but that visibility matters. And yes, the process took a long time, but progress also brings responsibility. And that's why we talk, for example, about the value and the mission of MAPS, which is to be a catalyst. To catalyze and facilitate more and opening doors for more Muslim representation who truly have a seat at the table and make and help in the decision making, whether in policy on a state level, local level, or national level. Too often our community sometimes have faced division, especially when it comes to politics in the Middle East, for example, or sectarian differences. Let's talk about the elephant in the room sometimes when it comes to Muslim community, or for example, tribal or ethnic lines. Those are issues that sometimes cause division within our community. And nothing wrong by acknowledging that these divisions do occur, but these divides sometimes can weaken us. However, the good news and the truth is that when the wider society look at us, they don't ask whether, for example, from which sect you come from, or are you Arab or non-Arab? Are you immigrants or American-born? They simply see us as Muslim. I mean, this can be a pro and a con. It depends on the scenario. That's why we must rise above this and above what separates us and focus on the shared value of justice and compassion and truly service. And the reason why I'm saying this, yes, to talk about, yes, we've done a lot of tremendous progress, but yet we have to do more of the work because we don't want, like, every time political tornado happen that hits our Muslim community and divide us. No, we want those ups and downs and different political tornadoes that can occur, strengthen our unity as a Muslim, as Muslim American, and remember to always collaborate with allies in our society, and we remember that we don't function separate. That means you're not only Muslim, you're not only Arab, you are Muslim American, you are Arab American, you are immigrant Americans, and that means we need to fully understand the strength and the power that we can bring as a society when we collaborate with other parts and group of our society and not work separate as a bubble. Otherwise, this is gonna slow us down, and we don't wanna just what I wanna say. It's not enough what we've done. All the achievements are not enough because sometimes a political thunderstorm, if I want to call it, can shake and weakens or sometimes, shake and weakens all these achievements that we've done if we let these weaknesses or working separate from other group takes on. So that's my take on it.
Micho, let me just continue. There's something you mentioned, and I love it. I want to elaborate on it. I think some major problem we're facing that we are in the States, we think as Arabs, we think as Muslims, we don't think as Arab Americans, we don't think as Muslim Americans. And this is a big difference, because if you think as a Lebanese or as an Arab, you put yourself on the outskirts of the American society. And the same thing if you think as a Muslim. Don't you how could we make our community to indulge more, to be real Arab Americans, to be real Muslim Americans, not only Arabs and Muslims?
It goes back to the beginning of the conversation when you asked me about why and how I got inspired with the public service idea, and I mentioned me being Muslim. It means, aside from the ibadat or the practicing of how people choose to pray or fast or do their ibadah, for me, being a Muslim is truly to be a public servant. What does actually that mean? It means wherever geographical space I am on this earth, I want to truly be an active member of that society, whether here or in Hong Kong, whether in a Muslim country or whether in an atheist country, or a non-Muslim country, or whatever religion or whatever culture it is. For me, being a Muslim is truly being a great citizen. Being a great citizen for the land where gave me the opportunity as a woman to strive. It gave me the opportunity to learn and strive in my education, in my career. And it gave the opportunity for my kids to live in a safe country. All these, yes, I can still criticize the politics in the country where I live like any other citizen. But for me, being a great Muslim, it means being a great citizen of the land where I live. That doesn't mean I cannot, I cannot criticize any policy. In fact, in Islam, I believe one of the value is it's a duty for me to be a change maker in the policy, in any country I live in. And that requires me sometimes to criticize and push for changes. But how can I push for changes if I don't choose to be involved? And that takes me back to this conversation that you're talking about. If you want to consider yourself a Muslim American, an Arab American, what does it actually mean? If you live in Dearborn, your kids goes to school here, you can't be someone, only criticize certain policy. If you don't choose to be involved, attend meetings, and push for change or ask the questions on certain policy, ask the question on how can I make a change. And luckily, this country is based on foundation of organizational foundation and system where you can make a change. And that's often a challenge back in countries where we immigrated from. So I believe being involved in public service or being involved as a citizen, even if you don't choose to play at all in the public arena, even as a parent who pays tax in the city where you live, or you work in the city where you live, I feel it's a duty for you as a Muslim or as Arab to remember that you are also American. And being an American, again, is like any American who's born and raised here, who's not immigrant. You pay respect to this country, but also you always have the right and the duty to find out facts and find out where there's a flaw in the system and how you can change the system. That's the way how I see it. That's how I live as American, Muslim, Arab, fully Arab, proudly American and Muslim as well.
Thank you, Micho. I want to follow up on that. It is rare that people with various religions, they identify their political identity as their religious ones. I think we have a special case as Muslim Americans.
Yes.
And when I mention this to some people who are not aware of this, might be in opposition to actually using the identity of Muslim American. And I faced this face to face when we were applying for accreditation for the Arab American and Muslim American caucus in the Green Party, where one of the rules in the Green Party that caucuses should not have an ideological identity. They should have an ethnic or somehow a marginalized community or a marginalized minority. And they don't accept ideological caucuses. So I was trying to explain that Muslim American is not an ideological identity. It is a political identity. It's a marginalized political identity. Doesn't matter what you believe, even if you don't even believe in Islam, but you're born Muslim,
and you don't practice, for example,
you don't practice, or you have all kind of various different understandings of Islam, you're still Muslim American. Can you talk about this? Do you feel that when we talk about Muslim women in politics, are we talking about political identity, or are we talking about ideological, especially Muslim American? Is it explain to the rest of the Muslim world how Muslim American has become a political identity?
I love this question, and I believe maybe you're more expert on it than me, because I know you did work on the Arab identity, and it's part of your research and book. But I can speak on my behalf and the people who I work with in the political arena as a woman who visibly Muslim. And also, I want to mention here, for example, for maps, we intentionally include Muslim in public service, not only Muslim who are visibly Muslim, but also Muslims who are born Muslim, but they don't practice Islam. They are also Muslim Americans. For example, a Khadija who doesn't wear a scarf, or a Muhammad who doesn't practice Islam. He's also a Muslim American in public service. So I just want to make sure this is clear and everyone is welcome in maps, regardless of their spectrum of religious level. Going back to the identity, I believe Muslim in America became an identity more than, because it depends on the geographical and the political content, how it's playing in that specific country. And I believe, honestly, American and a lot of different events that occurred in America is the reason that made Islam or Muslims a political and social identity versus a religion. And that we know, like, it's due to the 9/11 and the terrorism bias and the prejudice. So that took an effect for the Muslim American to be really an identity, not just a religion. But for example, if you want to tell me Islam in Lebanon, that's a religion. It's not a political identity. So the political identity emerged only because of different political events. That's in my own personal opinion, and that's how I see it. And because the political organizing and political movement that happened and emerged from within the Muslim Americans, it happened because of political events and because of social events that pushed Muslims to become more politically organized and push for their voices to be heard, and push for the Muslim American to be part of the political decision makers and have seat at the table where decisions are made. So I can't see the Muslim American disconnected from the political identity in United States specifically.
Okay.
Dr. Ali, I have a few questions, but I'll leave the next question to you.
Okay. Micho, always Wissam talks about Gen Z, that the new generation, the young generation, and he emphasizes that this Gen Z will be leading up with the election of 2032, I think. Let's talk about Gen Z, Muslim American Gen Zs, the young generation of Muslim Americans. How do you think this generation might be? What role should they play to shape up the future of public service in the United States?
While the Gen Z, they are. So, يعني, when we talk about Gen Z in United States, whether Muslim or Arab or immigrant, so we're literally talking about the one born and raised here. So they're not people like you, Dr. Ajami, or like Wissam or myself, who we have half or part of our identity in our upbringing back home. We have a lot of our values, whether political or social or different part of who we are or why we do the work we do. It's because of our upbringing. But the Gen Z, although they don't have this part of them, we try to pass it to them and be the catalyst in the work that we do to facilitate opportunities that they will be having and we didn't have. We had to either create it or lean on the ones who came before us and created it for us. However, I see a lot of hope in Gen Z. And when I want to talk currently about Gen Z, I would start from the movement for Gaza and speaking about Palestine. That's what makes me so proud of them. If you see the movement of the students at different campuses, whether from University of Michigan, Ann Arbor to Wayne State, or taking it outside Michigan to different universities, you would see like Gen Z are the catalyst of the movement speaking about Gaza. And that tells you, even though they were not born and raised, they didn't live, for example, the Israeli war like all three of us. However, they are so caring about reading the history, and they are actually witnessing things documented through the social media that we personally, if we didn't witness it directly through living the war or being displaced, you wouldn't know about it. For example, unfortunately, many of us did not watch the Iraqi war like we did watch on social media, and now currently the Gen Z watching through social media. It wasn't documented as much as the current Gaza war, even though we know it happened over 50 years ago. But currently the Gen Z have more the tools to witness all that and have the voice and the courage to talk about it. And honestly, that threaten a lot of people who've been wanted us to be silent about the Palestine issue. So while the Gen Z lag the part of the identity that we all have through our upbringing back from home. However, they do have a powerful tool of seeing and witnessing the horrific war and of the genocide. And this is a strong root cause, if I want to call it, although it's a painful one. However, it's strong to ignite their revolution toward making a change, even if just simply by starting over social media or through their protest in their university or in the encampment that we witnessed at different university. So I speak about this to say, like, this is only serve like a nucleus of many movement that's it's going to be taken over after that.
Great. Yeah, Gen Z are the saviors.
Yeah.
And the Muslim Gen Z, they also have very similar statistics as the national Gen Z. There are currently 75 million of them, and they will be the majority voters in starting 2030.
And to add to this, Wissam, sorry, for example, when I first started at UFM Dearborn, which is almost 2 decades ago, not to make myself look old, but yes. So I started at UFM Dearborn like 20 years ago. And at that time, the student government, I remember they didn't even have halal food. They were pushing at that time for halal food, for example, at the student government. But now, 20 years later, at every university, you have Muslim Student Association, you have Arab Student Association, not only at university, at the high school. And they're always volunteering at different local campaigns. Like my daughter just started high school and she's already part of ASU. And many of these students, they were involved in a lot of local election. Like, that's a huge difference, like from 2 decades ago to now, and more yet to come.
So yeah, and there's interesting facts about that is that Gen Z tend in general to be less religious. Yet the Muslim identity in the Gen Z Muslim Americans is actually strong. And that's another point to add to the vision of the Muslim American, that it is a political identity, not it's seen as a political identity, is seen as a part of diversity, embracing of diversity, rather than it is, and also a rejection of the establishment, right? So it's also a tendency of the rejection of the establishment. So the question I have for you, Micho, is I'll ask this question first. So on average, internationally, women are about 27% of members of parliament. Now, in the Muslim world, this rate is lower, but not
Sorry,
quite.
can you repeat the last part? You said on average, and then I lost you.
On average, 27% of the individuals in politics are women in the world. In the Muslim countries, in areas where Muslim countries are majority, it tends to be a little bit less. It's about 21%. Not much difference, it's still 21%. Actually, some Muslim countries are higher. Well, UAE is one of the highest in the world, but it's by decree. It's not an elected body. It's the Federal National Council. They have a rule that 50% of it should be women. So 50% of it is women. But other countries like Senegal has 41% women. Indonesia has 21% women. Bangladesh has 21% women. And some other countries have terrible numbers in that sense. And some countries don't even have women in schools, like Afghanistan, for example. But on average, Muslim countries are lower. Do you find that while Muslim women in America, they tend to be 40% the elected seats of Muslims? So it's even higher than the average American woman participation in politics, which is also about 27%. So there is an inspiration from Muslim women to the Muslim woman in the world, Muslim American woman to the Muslim woman in the world. Go ahead if you need to do something. So is it something that MAPS work on, working internationally to be an inspiration and support? Is there organizations that work on that, supporting Muslim women in politics internationally?
Maps currently doesn't have an international extension to the work they do. Actually, we've been starting to establishing different chapters. We have in New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, and Michigan. And in fact, if you look at our website, many of these leaders, the bigger percentage, there are women. The vice chair, different presidents in different chapter, they are women. So the answer to your question, no, we don't have yet international work. We're focused in the United States, and because honestly, I believe like Muslim around, like among Muslim around the globe, sorry. Being in the United States is an opportunity for Muslims from different backgrounds because we live in a country that have a big influence on the world. So this is our call for us to be in public servant, to be a public servant in the whether on federal or state or local level, and not only an opportunity, but also a duty to be involved overall as Muslim and in particular as women, because this is the land of opportunity, as it sounds as it's a cliche, but it's a reality. And this is why Muslim women who comes from country that don't often have opportunity in their country as a female, they come and take this opportunity to take on the lead, because, and that's honestly a testament that our women, if they are not given the opportunity back in their country, like they say, the saying, give a woman the right shoes and she will conquer the world. And here you go. And in the United States, when women, not only when they're given opportunity, even if they're not given the opportunity, even if woman is not invited to the room, she's bringing her folding chair, like the saying say, and she's coming to have a seat at the table and seeking those opportunity. If it's not giving for her, she's seeking it. And that makes me so proud of every woman from our community, locally and nationwide, who's been truly an inspiration for women overall and immigrant and Muslim women specifically.
Dr. Ali, do you have any more questions?
I have one. If there's enough time, we have time.
We're over time. Do you mind Micho going a few minutes over?
No problem. Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
you can ask a question, Doctor. I'll ask also my last question after you.
Okay, Micho, as an American Muslim woman that dared to go through these challenges, to go into this arena of public service, of political life, what issues do you think that concerns our Muslim American communities these days, and what should the public officials, how should they address these issues on the ground?
I love this question, Dr. Ajami. Actually, I always look at being from underrepresented community, if I want to call it, or being a minority, whether Muslim or Arab woman or immigrant woman or all the above, while I always like to approach things not in a victimhood mentality. While many of us have been truly a victim of being, facing prejudice or bias or underrepresentation or non-representation, but always when we come about it with a mindset and approach of empowerment and we're here to serve, we're here to lead, we're here to make change and to be truly a change maker. We shift the mentality from being a victim to being a leader. And the reason why I'm saying this, I don't like to only list challenges that we face among the American society overall. We have a responsibility on ourselves too, as Muslims, within ourselves, within each others. And I'm saying this in general, but now I'll dive more into the specific, and to say that when we enter public service as Muslim or as Arab, we must also ask ourselves, will we be gatekeepers protecting our own seats, or will we be catalysts opening the door wider to others? And that fits in the mission of MAPS, like I mentioned before. Representation, when we talk about, like, for example, I'm a staff, Muslim staff in the legislature, or the first Muslim mayor, or the first Muslim congresswoman, or such and such position. Representation is not only about meeting a quota or checking a box. No, it's truly and genuinely, authentically about bringing our community's voice and concern into these spaces and multiply our existence in these spaces. We're not there just to sit and listen and not have the courage to speak out for changes. If we choose to act as catalysts, to mentor, to uplift and open doors, this is when we are truly upholding to our Muslim values and American values, and to multiplying our presence. Then this is when leadership not just make history and not just celebrated as an individual or a small community, but it will truly shape the future of America in a way that truly reflects on who we are. So I see always we have a continuous role as Muslim to do our part within each others and keep building bridges with all the society, all the parts of the society that we live within. I hope that answered the question.
Thank you, Micho. A final question for you. If you can mute yourself while I ask a question. So, as a Muslim woman in public life, you are balancing your personal faith. We all do that, personal faith values, with the pragmatic compromises of politics, especially when you're serving a diverse community with many beliefs and priorities. That's something that Muslim politicians have been tested, and the harshest test was the Gaza genocide, especially with a political atmosphere that is totally bought by AIPAC and the Israeli lobby, and so the political environment was very difficult for Muslims to hold on to their values. So I want to ask you, when your constituents' preferences clash with your convictions, what guides your decision? Now, I know that you're not an elected in office, but how would you answer such a question? And when there is, like, what are the non-negotiable principles? And there's others that you're comfortable finding a middle ground about, but there are maybe some that are non-negotiable for you. Have you thought about that? Have you defined that?
That's a tough question, but the answer to this, the non-negotiable, whether through my own experience or whether witnessing other elected officials, I've worked with over 50 elected officials throughout my career, and I've seen how behind the scene things worked out and how in public worked out. For me, yes, sometimes the values of the constituents maybe, or their opinions on certain matter doesn't align with the elected official on certain opinion or take on certain issue. But I have two things. One, for me personally, I see the value of standing against injustice as a non-negotiable. And at least if you can't do something about it, at least speak about it or speak against injustice. That's one. Two, I hope you can hear me now because there's background. Okay. Two, it goes back to the idea when an elected official who happened to be Muslim or Arab, they also remember that they are Muslim and American, Arab and American. That means you hold values that often intersect in a lot of things. And when, for example, an elected official is representing their constituents, of course, they have to represent their voice and their voice and issues that matter to them. But when it comes to issues of injustices, I believe this is something, it's a red line. And instead of being silent, this is why someone is being called a leader and other one not being called a leader, because a leader is someone who leads and influence and impact and make an impact. Sometimes it can be the role of the elected official or the leader is truly to inform some parts of their constituents who are not fully informed about certain subjects. So instead of being intimidated or scared or silenced about certain issues, why don't someone think of truly being a leader and inform and take a stand and speak the truth to power when they are able, through a platform or through leadership role, able to make a change or make an impact. So that's how I look at it. Instead of being intimidated and silenced, be a leader and step out and make an influence. And we've seen it. We've seen it, for example, with Mayor Abdullah Hammoud, who made a national influence when it comes to Gaza, where journalists and media from internationally and nationally came and traveled to Michigan to interview someone like Mayor Abdullah Hammoud, who truly, I use him as a great example of a leader. Instead of choosing to be silent, he chose to be a leader and step out and speak and make an influence nationally.
Thank you, Micho. We have not additional time except to thank you for being here. And on behalf of myself and Dr. Ali Ajami, we thank you for your time. We thank all of you who have watched this episode. Iba Ismail, a Syrian-American author and poet, she says, "Hello, Micho. I sense in you ambition, positivity, and enthusiasm for working to serve the Islamic community. I sense in you the spirit from a global perspective, not a limited or narrow one, an interesting and useful dialogue." Thank you, Iba. Thank you, Micho. Thank you, Dr. Ajami.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ajami, and thank you, Wissam, and thank you for whoever watches or will watch us post this segment. And please continue to do the work and use this platform to uplift many voices like mine, because I know there's plenty of them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Salam. See you.